Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Middleton Common Council. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting with request for assistance on roll call.
Alder Shaver.
Here.
Alder Madden is absent and excused. Alder Kalish.
Here.
Mayor Kuhn.
Here.
Alder Nelson.
Here.
Alder Myers.
Present.
Alder Hanairo via Zoom.
Here.
Alder Lorman.
Here.
Alder Crow.
Here.
Moving on to public comments.
Thank you. We have a couple of public comments. First one is Garrig Abatista. And just as a reminder, if you would, once you come up to the mic, just restate your name and give your address. And you'll have 3 minutes to speak. I'll kind of give you a little wrap up signal when you're ready. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Garrig Abatista. I'm a resident of.
We can move it towards you too. Can you?
Is that better? Oh.
There you go. Try that.
Hello.
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Garrig Abatista. I am a resident of 1130 North High Point Road. I'm here today to raise a public safety concern that I have about the use of flock surveillance cameras in Middleton. If I'm not mistaken, I'm aware of at least 3 flock cameras that are operated by the Middleton Police Department. I'm hoping to learn more about who specifically controls the contract for them and the terms of this deal. But really what I'm requesting is the council to consider terminating this contract with Flock, or if that's not something within your control, to create some kind of ordinance or restriction barring the use of these ALPR cameras within Middleton. For those who may not know, Flock is a private company selling AI-powered surveillance cameras that they describe as automatic license plate readers, or ALPRs. But in my opinion, that description is simply not true. Flock advertises that their system creates a digital fingerprint of every car, including make, model, color, dents, bumper stickers, everything. It's able to track cars even without a license plate, so it is not just a license plate reader. They're also not the same as a camera in a Walmart whose footage exists on a local hard drive that can only be obtained after a warrant. The scale and ease of access of Flock is what I think makes it a problem. Instead of sitting in the back room of a retail business, all of this highly detailed personal information is uploaded and made instantly searchable without a warrant through a centralized database. One login can pull up a detailed report of a resident's movements, which is something no typical camera can do. It's available to be viewed by more than just the Middleton Police and is incredibly easy for outsiders to hack into and take advantage of. And since Flock is building a widespread network, it can enable bad actors access to constant targeted public monitoring, which puts our safety at risk and violates our right to privacy. I'd like to be clear that I'm not accusing anyone in Middleton of any misconduct, but public systems have to be designed for the worst case user, not the best case scenario. Other cities have already seen how this can go wrong, where there are proven cases of officers using this exact system to stalk their exes or to track vulnerable groups. Flock's data security is also, frankly, laughable, frequently allowing unauthorized outsiders access. One bad actor or one compromised password can turn Flock into a weapon that can ruin lives. A surveillance tool this powerful shouldn't be this easy to misuse, and it shouldn't depend on blind trust to stay safe. In my opinion, the safest measure is to never have this data be collected in the first place. Recently, the Verona City Council has voted to terminate their contract with Flock after listening to the concerns of the public, and I would like to ask the council here to consider doing the same, or if unable, to create an ordinance or some other restriction barring the use of ALPR cameras within Middleton. Really, I'm just asking for some help. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Garrig. Next up is Richard Morey.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay, my name is Richard Morey, 701 Country Air Court in Waunakee. Mayor, Alders, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the Common Council. I am the owner and operator of Morey Airplane Company and the airport manager of the Middleton Municipal Airport, Morey Field. I have some good news to share. Earlier this week, Maury Airplane Company took delivery of 1,000 gallons of Swift Fuel Company's UL 94, an unleaded aviation fuel. We'll be using this fuel in compatible flight school aircraft as well as sales to the public. I worked with Swift on pricing, which makes selling the UL 94 cost effective. The initial offering of UL 94 failed largely due to the fuel's higher than market costs. This is the first step in eventually eliminating leaded fuel at the Middleton Airport. As the airport manager, I am happy to report that for the second year in a row, the costs of operating the airport came in under budget. As the manager's agreement, or as per the manager's agreement, Maury charges the city for labor involved in airport operations. We charge this labor at our cost with no markup. In good stewardship of the city of Middleton's resources and through experience and efficiency, in 2025, we were able to operate the airport for $34,341.66, 11.9% under the $39,000 budgeted. In addition, Maury Airplane Company has been chosen as the trainer provider for 3 aviation scholarships. These scholarships are administered by the Willa Brown Organization. Willa's mission is to empower and inspire underrepresented youth, including women and people of color, in the field of aviation. Maury's Flight School was chosen for our proven record of excellence and affordability. In closing, I would urge the council to adopt the extension of Maury Airplane Company's fixed-based operator agreement and to adopt Alder Meyer's amendment pertaining to flowage fees. In 2025, $13,968.10 in flowage fees were paid by Maury Airplane Company to the non-lapsing airport fund. Keeping fees at market range, ensuring competitive fuel pricing preserves the flowage fee revenue stream. Respectfully, Richard Maury.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak this evening? Is there anyone online who would like to speak? Okay, thank you. That ends the public comments. Oh, pardon me. Chief.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to come today because I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in our world today, in particular our country. But I want to start off by reading our policy as it pertains to how we deal with immigration here in the city. So it is the policy of the Middleton Police Department that all members make personal and professional commitments to equal enforcement of the law and equal service to the public. Confidence in this commitment will increase the effectiveness of this department in protecting and serving the entire community and recognizing the dignity of all persons, regardless of their national origin or immigration status. To encourage crime reporting and cooperation in the investigation of criminal activity, all individuals, regardless of their immigration status, must feel secure that contacting or being addressed by members of law enforcement will not automatically lead to immigration inquiry and/or deportation. While it may be necessary to determine the identity of a victim or witness, members shall treat all individuals equally and not in any way that would violate the United States or Wisconsin constitutions. To me, that's what this is all about. I got into law enforcement because I want to help people, and I can guarantee that the officers of this city are feeling the same way. And for us, we need to have every person be able to come and be a victim. And for us, we want that to happen. I've been receiving questions, and rightfully so, about how we interact with the federal government and officers alike. And I do want to make a couple things just clear. One, our goal is to make Middleton a safe place. That's it. We have a duty to make sure that everybody in the public is able to operate peacefully. And for us to accomplish that goal, we have to be in charge of public order. We do not want our public order to be the sole responsibility of a federal agency. And I say that because we work with a lot of surrounding agencies that have like training. and we are to be held to that training. And we can guarantee we can offer that service because we are held to that training. But more importantly, anything that comes out of that training, we are accountable to the state of Wisconsin, and that's where we feel comfortable operating in. So for us, if we are to encounter any type of federal enforcement, we want to make sure that they are able to do their job peacefully and get their job done, while also ensuring that there's a peaceful space for all of our people to express their points of view, because we feel that's extremely important, and we want to make sure our people have that. So I'm going to be here all night, so I'm willing to answer any questions, reference this matter at all. But I just thought I wanted to make a point to come to talk to everyone today, to make sure that you know that this police department loves this community. And that's why I came here, because I see it, and we're here and we're committed to you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief. Anybody else have anything tonight? That's good. All right, we will end public comments.
Moving on to proclamations. The first proclamation is recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month, celebrated each February annually, originated from the efforts of historian Carter G. Woodson and minister Jesse E. Moreland in the early 20th century to acknowledge and promote the achievements of Black Americans. And whereas this month serves as a dedicated time to honor the significant contributions of Black Americans in various fields, including science, art, literature, politics, and civil rights, which have been instrumental in shaping our nation's history and culture. Whereas the 2026 national theme for Black History Month, as designated by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, is a century of Black history commemorations, highlighting the teaching, study, dissemination, and commemoration of Black history. And whereas the City of Middleton acknowledges the importance of reflecting on the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans throughout history, recognizing that understanding this history is essential to fostering a more inclusive and equitable community. And whereas Solomon Freeman, Middleton's first known African-American resident, born into slavery, later became a preacher and community leader here in Middleton, leaving a lasting legacy honored by the Middleton Area Historical Society in the 1970s. And whereas during this month, we encourage all residents to engage in activities and educational opportunities that celebrate Black history and culture, and to participate in efforts that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within our community. Now, therefore, I, Emily Kuhn, Mayor and Common Council, and the Common Council of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Middleton. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 3rd day of February 2026. Is there a motion?
Schaefer moves. Myers second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the proclamation honoring Drew Montour's 22 years of distinguished service to the City of Middleton. Whereas Drew Montour has served the City of Middleton with dedication and honor for 22 years and is retiring from his position as Information Technology Manager with his last day on Friday, January 30th. And whereas Drew Montour began his career with the city serving with the Middleton Police Department and as Assistant Director of Information Technology before moving to the IT Manager position on January 27th, 2020. And whereas during his career with the city, Drew has dealt with some of the challenging environments, including working in the dungeon of the windowless basement of City Hall and dealing with multiple flooding incidents before finally making the great migration to new IT offices at the Middleton Police Station. And whereas in March 2020, only a couple of months into his role as IT manager, Drew faced the need to support a pivot to remote operations during the COVID pandemic. He successfully managed a chaotic situation with grace, finding creative ways to support staff and maintain critical services during a very challenging time. And whereas Drew has provided excellent vision and leadership, helping to guide the city through technology changes in a planned and responsible manner, with a focus towards quality in public services, and whereas Drew is known for his positive can-do attitude, humor, and willingness to help, as he has fielded countless support requests, frantic last-minute calls before public meetings, late-night emergencies, and people asking, while you're here, can you take a look at this? And whereas, while Drew will be greatly missed by his colleagues, employees, and elected officials, and we wish him well on his retirement and future adventures. Now, therefore, I, Emily Kuhn, Mayor of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, along with the Middleton Common Council, do hereby proclaim and honor Drew Montour for his distinguished service to the City of Middleton. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 3rd day of February 2026. Is there a motion?
As a fellow IT person, I shall make that motion.
As someone who has benefited from Drew's grasp of technology when I have needed my password reset on my account, thank you, Drew, for dealing with that. I'd second.
I think that said all with love. Is there any other comments? And that's
It's said with more than love. It's said with profound appreciation, Drew, because that is the single most annoying task I could have possibly asked of you 3 years ago.
I think he said it. I think he's done it for all of us, if it makes you feel better. So thank you. I will absolutely second his comments, and thank you for your service. All those in favor of approving the proclamation honoring Drew Montour's service to the City of Middleton on his retirement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
That's the best time.
Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion?
Sure, on behalf of finance personnel, I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda. No other objections.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Alder Crow. I'll second.
Good, thank you. Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Goodbye. Enjoy. Moving on to agreements, collective bargaining agreement between the City of Middleton and Middleton Professional Police Association, number 427 for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028. Is there a motion?
Schaefer moves approval.
Thorman, a second.
Any comments? Yes, Alder Myers?
Yes, so first, Chief Brian, congratulations on getting to the finish line on this negotiation. I am looking forward to voting for this. However, there is one minor change that I am requesting in the red line version. Under Article 21, term of this agreement, we currently have it running through the year 20,264 because we forgot to strike something.
Well, that's a fabulous catch.
I would move that we strike,
Perhaps a zero?
no, I think the zero is supposed to be there.
Oh,
But I would, move
If
that.
anybody has it on the screen.
Can you tell me what page that's on?
It is the last page of the agreement, Alder Nelson. Yeah.
Oh, the
yep.
4.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So I think we need to strike something.
Yep, we'll take care of that. Just
Actually, is there a strike through the 4? I think there is.
Strike through, you just can't see it. Yeah. It's there. I think
Oh, it's over the 4 line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there? Okay.
First covering it up.
Well, I stand by the motion.
No, it's not. I just copied it into a Word document. There is not a strike in the PDF that was attached.
I feel like a former older Robert Burke was visiting there for a moment. Congratulations.
I would like to amend my motion to strike that last digit.
Do we have to vote on that?
just 1 second. Before we start voting on things, just a point of information for the body. In the review of this by the Finance and Personnel Committee, the one item that they did recommend to council, recommend approval of this agreement with an adjustment on section, just give me 1 second. 10.3 bereavement leave. There was just some change of some of the language as it related to kind of archaic descriptions of members of the family and step families. So that is language that we'll work with our attorney to adjust. So in this section 10.3 A and B, there'll be some adjustments in just the description to be more expansive.
But it doesn't change the meaning, right?
Correct.
Well, so I vote, I like a motion to approve the document as amended. Or to be amended.
And so can we include the attorney review for that one
Yeah,
digit?
let me suggest this point of information. Can I have the motion in a second withdraw your motion and I'll offer up another motion
I
to cover
withdraw.
everything? Okay. The motion I would suggest is the city council approves the agreement that is before you with the adjustments in section 10.3 as recommended by the finance committee and the adjustment in section 21.1 striking the 4 from 2026 to make it read 2026.
Well, I thought that's what I said, so
It is. Very good. Look at that. We got back there. Good job.
I will second Alder Schaefer's motion as stated by Brian.
And Alder Haniro has her hand raised.
Alder Hanaro.
Yes, I just want to make sure that in section 10.3 bereavement leave, in addition to changing the archaic language, there's no reference to bereavement leave for applicable step relatives, such as a step parent. And that is more than just a wording change. It would add step parents and step siblings to the list for whom 5 days off without loss of pay is covered.
And that was part of the recommendation from the finance committee. So that will be incorporated in your motion.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? And thank you for that, Alder Hanaro. Thank you for making sure we're robustly covering all of those things. Anyone else? With that, all those in favor of approving the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Middleton and the Middleton Professional Police Association for 27, including the adjustment of language from section 10.3 as approved by finance, those changes, as well as section 21.1, striking the number 4 from 2026. Little language there. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the,
Before we
oh, I'm
move
sorry.
on, I'm sorry, I just, in the event that there are other similar typographical errors, do you, Brian and Matt, feel that you need a motion from us to allow you to correct those without bringing it back to council? Or do you feel comfortable empowered to resolve minor typographical
Yeah,
errors. on your own.
typically it's been past practice for contracts when they're ministerial in nature, it doesn't need to come back. If they're substantive, for example, if the union would come back with something, then clearly we need to bring that back to you. But if it's just language change for grammatical related items, no.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you for that. Moving on to agreement number 2, the renewal of fixed base operator FBO contract for the Middleton Municipal Airport with Maury Airplane Company, subject to city attorney approval.
Myers, I will move the renewal of fixed-based operator contract for the Middleton Municipal Airport with Maury Airplane Company, subject to city attorney approval for discussion, and then I'm gonna amend it.
Right, yep.
Are you a seconding?
I'll second that and we'll
Okay, great.
sub-
Okay.
submit the amended language.
And then opening to, yes, Alder Myers?
Alder Myers, I move to amend the fixed base operator contract, section 3B flowage fee to the proposed amendment in your agenda packet.
Is there a second?
I wanted to, well, yes, and then discussion.
Understood.
Yeah.
So the first Myers and the second is Lorman. For discussion, did anybody
Yeah.
have a comment? Yep, go ahead. Alder Lorman?
So I guess it would just be some minor, very minor changes to the language. One is we can remove the words by operator. So on the first line where it says 11 cents per gallon of aviation fuel sold, period, you can strike the word by operator because it's already the operator in the first half of the sentence. What?
Alder Lorman, I just suggest that if you have your proposed language typed up, if you could send that to Administrator Gadow so he can bring it up on the screen. If you have that.
Oh,
I mean, we see the text on the screen. You
Okay.
can see the 2 words he's taken out.
yeah, it's just,
Okay.
it's probably doesn't have any impact on it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing was, and I can certainly send this to Administrator Gatto if you want, but after, in the red line section where it's the word of its discretion, I want to simply add a comma and just add this statement in there. Provided the new rate does not exceed the highest rate within a 50 nautical mile radius of the airport. And then it would continue with the original language and in accordance with federal law, that's necessary to fund, maintain, or operate the airport, period. Any change must be accompanied by a comparative market analysis for fuel, fuelage, and aviation. So there's just no change to what Charles is saying, just adding that one sentence. Happy to send it to Brian now. I want to put it up on the screen. That's all it is.
Looks like he's adding it,
Yeah,
but
the
I'm
word and needs to go.
glad that we're talking about
Oh,
that
let's
for
see. Okay.
future.
Those are,
things.
to be done by the city of.
Exercise of discretion, comma.
Yep,
provide.
and then at comma discretion, yep, provided that the new rate does not exceed a rate within a 50 nautical mile radius of the airport.
PBS, got it.
And I'm happy to add some context as to why that language is there. If anybody cares,
I would like that.
sure. So basically, a federal regulation, 14 CFR 61.1, has a lot of guidance for pilots. And one of the guidance is for currency training certification, type of flying called cross-country purposes. And anytime you fly within a 50 nautical mile radius of an airport, it's really not considered cross-country. It's not that you're not going anywhere, but from a pilot and flying perspective, you think a little bit differently in how you plan and prepare your flight. If you're going to go outside that range, a pilot would typically file what's called a flight plan. And so as a pilot, when you're at the airport, you're preparing to fly and looking at all the things you need to do because there aren't fuel stations in the sky. You would typically make sure you have adequate amount of fuel where you are on the ground before leaving. If not, you would then pull out an aeronautical chart, look at it and say, okay, where's the next place to get fuel? And if you look at it's the Wisconsin Airport Rates and Charges Survey that we actually have posted on the city website, and it's updated as of 2024 through the BOA. You look on there within a 50 nautical mile radius of Middleton, you'll first notice that we are the highest price in the 50 nautical mile radius at this time. And there's also probably about 15 airports just within that radius. 15 nautical miles may sound like a lot, but from an airplane's perspective, going in a straight line at 100 miles an hour, it doesn't take very long to go that far. So it's probably a reasonable way to, think about this, because what was expressed in this was concern over caps. And okay, we don't want to put a number in there for a cap. We have a lot of data out there now provided to us by the state of Wisconsin, kind of backed up by what we would call a general operating behavior for pilots. And so it's just adding a little bit more to it, but not changing the substance of it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Alder Myers?
So for the purposes of discussion,
Yeah.
I'm going to second your motion to amend my motion. I do have one concern about, provided the new rate does not exceed a rate within 50 nautical mile radius of the airport. Would that now have the practical effect of causing our Middleton Airport to lower its fuel flowage rate?
From a practical standpoint, no. I mean, I don't think we would intentionally lower our rate from where it's at, because we have been adjusting it based on current market conditions. We're the highest because where we are. I mean, this is an area that is a little bit more expensive, and the market seems to tolerate that. The FBO responds to it because it's also the cost that the FBO gets the fuel at. So whatever the FBO is getting the fuel at is, readjusts our rate up to reflect that as well. Mr. Morey's here, he could probably give you much more insight into kind of some of the finances, but yeah.
I was just,
Yeah,
to Alder Myers' point though, I think technically if currently our rate is the highest in that radius and we can't be higher than the highest rate, we would, if this language is implemented, we would need to lower our rate to comply with this contract language. So under no circumstances could we ever be the highest under the way that language is written.
I raised my hand and I realized I get to call it myself. My
you
bad.
do.
I'm like, interesting. So, can you, and I'm gonna look to Alder Myers for help on this. Can we use a language of, say, like 120% of said, let's say some version that gives them a little bit of a cap?
Well, I
Not a
think-
cap, I'm sorry, but like a way to give them some wiggle room for having it been the most expensive, but that,
So the reason that I offered my amendment without this language, and Administrator Gadow and Matt and I exchanged a few different emails about potential ways to word it. My thinking behind the original amendment was that the concern about the cap is one that I share. Markets behave the way markets behave, and if you lock yourself into a cap and the market behaves differently, then you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, that's very
Um,
true.
But also, that's on the one side, and on the other side, I do think that it's prudent for us as a deliberative body to remember that future iterations of this deliberative body may engage in behaviors with regard to our contractual abilities that are not in the financial best interest of the city and ultimately the airport. And so we should put safeguards there to ensure that the ability to do that is curtailed. I felt in my amendment, which requires adjustments to the flowage fee to be accompanied by a market analysis, that we were able to meet those two requirements
Mhm.
both without a cap and in a way that allowed us to set a flowage fee that reflects the premium location of Maury Airport in Dane County. So that was my thinking in my amendment.
Yeah, and I
offered-
agree. And
yeah.
and so maybe what we do is we take the word exceed out of there and simply say, provided the new rate reflects reflects the market rate within 15 nautical mile radius. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's-
Are you
Yeah,
guys
I'm not looking at
comfortable
the
with that?
screen. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I appreciate the wordsmithing.
We've both spoken already, so.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Alder Haniro?
Thank you. I prefer the language that the Finance and Personnel Committee passed at our last meeting that just ended the sentence after 11 cents per gallon. The fuel flowage fees bring in about $13,000 per year, and that's money that goes into the Airport Enterprise Fund. And under our FAA assurances, paragraph 24, it says we're obligated to maintain a fee and rental structure for the facilities and services at the airport, which will make the airport as self-sustaining as possible under the circumstances existing at the particular airport. And paragraph 25 specifies that all revenues generated by the airport and any local taxes on aviation fuel established after December 30th, 1987 will be expended by us, for the capital or operating costs of the airport. And I'm just thinking, don't airport users support the idea of generating revenue to improve our airport? I would say they do. And I know that over 70% of the folks surveyed in Middleton during the airport master planning process said it was essential or very important for users to pay for close to all the expenses at the airport. I checked the Bureau of Aeronautics in Wisconsin, their sample agreement, and it provides no detail, certainly nothing like what we're proposing here. It just says that it's expressly understood that the rate of ground rental per square foot, together with the fuel flowage fee, shall be subject to re-examination and readjustment at the end of each 3-year period of this lease. That's in their sample template that they have. I would note that the fuel flowage fee is, I think, or the price of the fuel itself is 50 times the flowage fee that we're talking about here. And I don't see the benefit of even requiring a comparative market analysis. I think that's just another hurdle. It is the Bureau of Aeronautics annual survey of airport fees. Is that a comparative market analysis? If it is, I wouldn't object to it because they show that at large general aviation airports, the flowage rate is 19 cents for 100 low lead and 12 cents for Jet A, which is higher than what we're charging. And then finally, I would say that I'm thrilled to hear Mr. Maury say that the Swift unleaded is now going to be available again. And one of the reasons I did not support any reference to a market analysis at the last meeting is because in our comprehensive plan, we specifically mention as an action using unleaded fuel at the airport. And if we impose any requirements on ourselves or tie the hands of a future council, to use a phrase that prior councils have used, if we do that, that will eliminate our ability to subsidize in any way the purchase of the Swift unleaded, and do that by perhaps adjusting upwards by a cent or two, the comparable that would be the low lead. And that is something that we should, I mean, that's what public policy does. We try to steer people into a direction that our comprehensive plan tells us we should be going, namely getting more pilots to use the unleaded fuel. So if we put all this language in red into this agreement, we will lose the ability to take that step and through public policy, try to incentivize the use of unleaded fuel at the airport. So I will oppose the amendment and hope that I can offer a substitute motion to approve it as amended by the Finance and Personnel Committee 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for those thoughts. I know there was a lot of different ideas in there, and so we always appreciate that. Alder Schaefer?
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with Alder Hanairo. And to the extent that I think we're micromanaging this thing, I don't think anybody's out there trying to screw the system or whatever. To me, I would leave into an amount determined by the city to reasonable exercise of its discretion and everything else beyond that. So I will also be voting against this amendment.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Alder Kalish?
I agree with Charles and Alder Hanairo. I think that this is getting too deep into the weeds. I think that this is limiting future discussion, future the issues with this potential thing, and I don't think that the amendment is Maury has a concern with it. So because I think he said that he was okay with everything minus what's highlighted. So I'm assuming that if we were to go with your suggestion, all parties would be okay with it.
Yes, I saw Alder Lorman, Alder Crow. Alder Crow hasn't spoken yet, so please, Alder Crow.
And if I'm trying to verify if Lisa made an alternate motion at the end of her
And
talk.
permission to turn that up. I could barely hear Lisa.
That's not something I can change here in
Okay,
our
I
system.
can't choose you here.
Sorry, I will speak louder next time. And to answer Alder Crow's question, I have not made a substitute motion yet because I wanted to make sure everyone had an opportunity to speak.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
And
Okay.
there was
just-
no second,
but-
so we continue the conversation.
Point of information, just as a reminder, again, best practice for parliamentary procedure, if you recall from our previous presentations from UW Extension, typically, if you get 2 amendments, you should deal with those first before you offer a third substitute motion, then things get a little confusing. So at the moment, we have the main motion on the floor that's been amended, and there's a second amendment to that. My suggestion would be that we deal with at least that second amendment first, and then if somebody else wants to make a substitute motion, you can. But the motion the amendment that's currently on the floor is that this language with the addition of the items in yellow. That's the amendment from Alder Lorman. So I would suggest that the body deal with that up or down. And then if that fails, hypothetically, then you'd go back to the language suggested by Alder Myers, which is the language in red. And then we could entertain any additional substitute motions at that point, just so we don't lose track of what's being proposed.
Much appreciated for those reminders, City Administrator Gatto. Back to Alder Crow, I think you were clarifying, so please
That was the
continue.
first part. The second one is, goes back to Alder Lorman's amendment. And I guess the way I read that is that any new rate doesn't exceed a rate. So it's not the rate that we're at now, so that wouldn't affect our current rate. However, any new rate, basically, we're capping anything new if we can't exceed anything. So basically, it's adding a cap back in is the way I see it. So I can't support that amendment.
Okay, Alder Myers.
Alder Lorman, would you be willing to withdraw provided the part of your motion that is provided, or would you be willing to withdraw your motion and then put in and then re-add the by operator strike?
Yeah, what I want to point out here is just some of the really misinformation that is being said here. So first of all, Alder Haniro said, for example, you know, how are we gonna subsidize unleaded fuel when we get for example, the G100 fuel? And this is really where technical expertise comes into play, so we don't get ourselves in trouble. You can't mix the fuels. So if you have unleaded fuel at the airport, right now, the pilot can only put that fuel in their airplane if they purchase a permit to do so. It's called a supplemental type certification. And this is one of the things that is simply misunderstood out there right now in the current climate of unleaded fuel. So, and that is why the FAA has gone back to changing the narrative that an airport now must provide leaded fuel. There was a court case that was taken to court this past year on the West Coast because they did exactly the direction we're heading without having any kind of control measure in place. What the local governments were doing, these were county and city owned airports, they were artificially raising the price of leaded fuel to force pilots at the airport to buy unleaded fuel. The problem being is some of those airplanes are not compatible to run the unleaded fuel. Even though a supplemental type certification may say 90% of the airplanes are, problem is 90% of the airplanes don't consume 90% of the fuel. What it really comes down to is 20% of the airplanes might consume 70% of the fuel. So that's why technical expertise is needed in something like this. So to just say, I don't like the language and let's just, not limit the city, what we're doing is we're protecting ourselves. What we're saying is we can't play those games. The fuel has to be at a reasonable market rate. It has to be what the area tolerates, what the market tolerates. And if we want to sell unleaded fuel, we sell it at that fair market rate. If we want to sell leaded fuel, we sell it at that fair market rate. We want to adjust our fuel prices up as the city of Middleton, fine. But then we do it reasonably within the market. We don't say, I'm going to price leaded fuel at $10 a gallon and subsidize the money from that to try to lower the price of unleaded fuel. When the federal law states you can't put that in your airplane and you can't mix it while it's in your airplane. So then if an airplane comes into Middleton and says, well, I need leaded fuel and it's $10 a gallon, but we want to push them into buying unleaded fuel, now we're playing those games. We're not responding to the market anymore. We're creating our own artificial market. And, if this is just a big black hole out there, the airport on the other side of the city, then I, would encourage all the counselors here, do some research, get the facts before you just say, I don't like the way that sounds. I would be perfectly fine with falling back on having much more open, flexible language. But our airport has been under constant attack. I mean, the facts are there. Every step of the way, something is being brought upon the airport to make it more difficult to operate, to make it more expensive, to try to curtail its activities. When it's an asset, it's a business, it's an entity here in the city. So, just think about the big picture, long-term, beyond what you see in front of you, but what the ultimate impact is in keeping it a viable business entity. That's it.
Thank you. Alder Haniro and then Alder Myers.
I asked Alder
Thank you.
question.
So, I'm.
But I believe the mayor recognized me. Am I mistaken?
Alder Haniro, I think there was a clarifying question, so I apologize. Can you just hold for a moment?
Yes.
You were answering his question.
I was asking David if he'd be willing to withdraw his motion and then reinsert the by operator strike that we have in the yellow version because it is redundant.
Madam Chair, with respect, I would like to respond to the,
Yes, I apologize. Alder
you.
Myers had asked that question earlier and we were just clarifying because I think Alder Lorman didn't fully answer that. So my
Sure.
apologies.
Yep.
I think we're okay now?
Yep.
All right. Alder Haniro, please go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Frankly, I resent my colleague accusing me of spreading misinformation and not understanding that not all aircraft can use unleaded fuel. I am perfectly aware of that, and I did not imply in any way that we were forcing only the sale of unleaded fuel. Second, I said 1 or 2 cents as a subsidy, not $10. And nobody on this council is playing games with any of our funds, whether enterprise funds or not. So I think that language was out of order. I would say if an economist were looking at this and talking about the market, that person would say, let's see what the market will bear. Let's drive the cost up for the fuel and see when do pilots stop buying at Maury Airport and go somewhere else. That is what the market would do. That is not what I am suggesting. I, again, think simplicity is best in this. I will make a substitute motion eventually once we dispense with the motion that's on the table. And I will opt back to the version that was approved by the Finance and Personnel Committee. I would also point out that I don't think it would be fair to Mr. Maury if we take out the words by operator as suggested by my colleague in District 7, because then he would be paying for fuel sold by someone else in the event that in the future we have another operator who is selling fuel. So I think the language by operator, I appreciate my colleague from District 5 making the suggestion to keep that language in there, but I think that language is very problematic and needs to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine with, taking the strikeout for by operator. I just thought it was redundant. I didn't mean it to structurally change anything, so please.
Understood.
Yeah.
And as city administrator is making those updates, Alder Nelson wanted to make a comment.
I am just confused at I just need to be educated about our flexibility with setting fuel rates. I don't think that automobile fuel is as flexible as this, but please, if you would, Alder Lorman, provide me with a little education on that.
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that more or less the fuel rates at the airport should be determined kind of by the way automobile fuel is. I mean, there's a cost to it when it comes to the airport. We have to put a markup in it, but from there, we're really letting the market play it out because it comes to the airport at a cost at that delivery time, which could be lower or higher.
Could I
And so-
possibly ask, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all.
Could I possibly ask Rich Maury? Is that okay with you, Madam Mayor?
That's in order.
It's a
Okay.
request. Do you have a certain formula that you just add to whatever you're charged?
There is a standard markup. Basically, the city really isn't setting fuel prices. The market rate is setting the fuel prices. Of course, the state has a minimum markup law, which I'm not sure that all of my competitors are following, but we certainly do. Is not really how to describe it. You can certainly charge a huge amount of money, and certain FBOs can do that because they have a market. For instance, if you're going into O'Hare and you're going to buy gasoline, you pay a very high charge rate. Also, it's a very high operating expense to be there. We try to keep our fuel in the range, or if lower than all of those within about a 50 nautical mile radius. We cannot do this because another operator, Monroe, doesn't have a fixed base operator. They have a basically airport commission and self-serve tanks. So they're really lowballing their price on fuel to increase their flowage, which is something they can do. Now, Monroe's 30 miles from us. We have aircraft that will go to Monroe and fill up and then come back rather than pay maybe 40 cents more a gallon or thereabouts for our fuel. So I think what Alder Lorman is trying to get at is it's a very flexible market. The people are flying somewhere anyway. They can stop and save, on a 50-gallon fill up, 40 cents a gallon. That's not small change, even to people that can afford to fly aircraft. So it's important that we keep all the expenses at a reasonable rate. As I said, part of our non-lapsing fund is our 11 cents a gallon flowage fee. Again, I don't have any problem with keeping it at 11 cents a gallon. The potential with no cap and no review as of to regulation and or what the market is perhaps disturbing. As I said, the reason our initial unleaded fuel, the 94 UL that can only be run in certain aircraft, not the higher compression, higher performance aircraft, failed was twofold. One, we just couldn't get it at a reasonable price and people weren't buying it. I was about the only one that was using the fuel in my aircraft. And number two, we had some technical difficulties with the tank resulting in having to scrap the fuel because of water leak. That's been taken care of. We don't have to worry about that. By speaking directly and negotiating with the Swift Fuel, we were able to get a much more, a better rate. Let's put it at that. So I guess what I'm saying is we set the rate obviously to make some money, to keep it in the market so we can sell fuel, because honestly, it's a very mobile market. If our rates are too high, people are going somewhere else. If they're too low, well, then maybe we're going to bring people in, but it's not going to help us out a great deal. So long story short, but that's what we do.
So do you have a self-imposed cap on how much you will raise it?
Well, it's a market cap, essentially. How to describe this? We're not good at college, certainly not. I mean, if everyone in our area were marking their fuel up $5 a gallon, we wouldn't be doing that. We don't mark it up anywhere near that. So it is imposed both by our basic operating principles of fair play and the market itself, the market rates. I can't sell fuel at a loss, so I can't beat Monroe's price, essentially. I don't know that they have a flowage fee down there. On the other hand, I'm not going to gouge my people.
Sure.
As my father once said, half of something is a lot better than 100% of nothing.
That's right.
So,
Thank you for that.
and Charles, if your hands up.
Maybe,
I had a
maybe
follow-up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
stay at the podium just in case we have a follow. Yeah, just hang tight for me.
I have a follow-up if you don't mind. No, for Alder, I think Alder Lorman, but maybe Alder Myers. So you guys are asking for A cap or no? I mean, I'm lost now.
Okay, so
You're wanting a cap or no
Uh,
cap?
my amendment very specifically does not have a cap, and it does not have a cap. Yeah.
So you were spot on.
and,
You understood.
the reason for that is because the market for aviation fuel and all petroleum products is incredibly complicated, and imposing a cap can cause issues if there are market changes.
And-
But not imposing some sort of restriction on our ability to artificially raise the price beyond allows future deliberative bodies the ability to do things which will ultimately result in financial harm both to the enterprise and the fixed base operator
Gotcha.
and the specialized aviation services organization that operates at the airport,
Oh, yes.
as well as to the city. Because ultimately, if and when the deliberative body chooses, if or when the deliberative body chooses to do that, we will get sued
Yeah, it's just open
and
to
we
abuse.
will lose.
Right.
So
So-
I'm not, I'm trying to preserve as much flexibility for all
Gotcha.
parties here.
My last follow-up is the last line of the amended portion that is in black but stricken. Is that the original amendment proposed by Finance and Personnel?
Correct. That piece was recommended by the Finance and Personnel Committee at the last meeting. That's included in the red line
I
version
appreciate
that's
that.
in the
I'm-
packet.
I'm
Yep.
set. Thank you.
Alder Myers.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just add that the reason I left comparative market analysis undefined instead of sending back a few dozen emails to come up with a 400-word summary of exactly what constitutes a comparative market analysis is that ultimately defining that was going to cause more issues than leaving it at something where the discretion of the city and the airport commission could say, well, with reference to the published flowage rates from the BOA, this is within the market for flowage rates and for aviation fuel overall. So I'm trying to preserve as much flexibility for all parties as possible while simultaneously limiting the ability of future deliberative bodies, on which hopefully none of us serve, to engage in behavior that I don't think would be beneficial for the enterprise or the city overall.
Okay, very good. Oh, thank you. Alder Schaefer?
Just in all due respect to Mr. Myers, I think that you're acting a lot on the presumption that there's a bunch of rogue players out there who are gonna be jumping in whenever they get an opportunity. In my years with the city, I've not seen that. So I don't think we're in a position to try to protect ourselves from what we do from future generations. And as council, I won't vote for things that do that. To me, where it says to an amount determined by the city and the reasonable expectation of discretion in accordance with federal law, et cetera, is enough. We don't need this, market analysis stuff. I think that we have to trust the people who are doing this to do what's probably right and to take under control a rogue if a rogue shows up. But I don't see a whole bunch of rogues all waiting to take advantage of this.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Alder Myers?
Alder Schaefer, I do appreciate your faith in future deliberative bodies. Believe it or not, I do share it. However, in my personal experience with contracts and with ensuring that the rights, obligations, and interests of all parties are preserved, it is best to spell these things out. And that's, I think, why it's important to make sure that the reasonable exercise of our discretion is in some way defined, and in some way, with reference to the local market.
I appreciate your view. I think we're still just going too far. So.
Yes, and then Alder Lorman, as soon as you're done.
Sorry, Mr. Mori, one more question. Do you have an opinion on how this should go?
I can see both ways. I don't really want to be political, but we're in a
And I
climate
hope I'm
where,
not asking you to
I
be,
was
but
gonna
you might
say,
have a preference
that's-
on how to work.
okay. I think that the users of the airport, the clients, would be happier if they knew that we were staying in a market-based fee structure. Pilots are very cost sensitive. How to describe that? But as I said, they will fly 30 or 50 miles to save some money. And so it behooves the operators like myself, for instance, and like Capital Flight, to make sure that our fuel prices are at a reasonable level. I think the Maury Airplane Company uses about 62% of the fuel that is
Yeah.
pumped at Middleton Municipal Airport. So that's a huge expense. That said, it's just like anyone else. If we know that the market forces are there, we can live with that. If we see, as I say we, as in pilots, worry that the government entity could impose taxes additionally on the fuel, people get anxious.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
It's a very well-crafted response. Much appreciated. Thank you for the ask. It's a good question. Alder Lorman.
Yeah, I just want to help Alder Schaefer look back on some history just briefly. When we redid our zoning ordinance for the airport, it was this body that initially saw no reason to zone the airport as AIR and to leave it as planned development unit. It was this body that during the rezoning of the airport saw no reason to specifically state that the airport could have a helipad. It was this body that specifically stated during the rezoning, the rewriting of the airport, that there should be limits placed on what we can develop out at the airport in conjunction to its economic viability. And it was me who sat here and deliberated and fought to change each and every one of those for the airport to be zoned as AIR, for the airport to be a place where there could be a helipad, for the airport to be a place where there's flexibility within the area of the FBO and development for business related activities at the airport. It was me who worked with zoning to state that there needs to be flexibility to allow pilots who build hangars to have space for business operation. So when we talk about how this body or a future body would never make a decision that would be detrimental to the future of the airport, it's simply not true. Go back and look at the notes, look at the recordings, and look at
Since
every
you're addressing me,
transcript.
though, the presumption is everything you voted against was the right thing, and everybody, the things that other people wanted were the wrong thing.
Well, what I'm pointing out is I was trying to say, why wouldn't we zone an airport AIR? Why? Because there were those who said it wasn't necessary. And those were people who are outside of this body. And there are those who are a minority within this body that simply, hey, fine. I don't have to hide behind the fact that I support the airport, okay? But that's what I'm trying to get at. So no, there's history here. That's all. There's just history.
Duly noted.
Okay, so, don't say that, oh, no, that'll never happen. It's happened, and it is happening as we speak.
I don't think I said it will never happen.
Okay, thank you.
I am so glad we have clarified this topic.
Yep.
Quick question, I'm
And
hoping.
wish-
please,
yeah.
yes, quick.
Why is the wording from the Personnel and Finance, why is that so, why is that tying your hands? Alder Lorman.
I voted no to strike, that, by no more than 8 cents for a total of 19 cents. I voted against that change. So I voted to simply leave the language as it was presented during Finance and Personnel to move it on to Common Council.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Clarified.
Thank you. All right, can you help me with the question for the body?
Yes. So again, there's a motion on the table, which is the FBO contract in its totality as is redlined. There has been a first amendment to amend the language as shown in the red line on the screen before you. And then there's a second amendment, which is the first item that needs to be addressed. That is an amendment that includes the language in yellow highlight, provided that the new rate, and this is in quotes, provided that the new rate does not exceed a rate within 50 nautical mile radius of the airport, end parentheses, or end quotation marks. That is the first amendment we need to deal with. And then depending on how the body votes on that, we'll move back up towards the full agreement.
And can you help me remember, I know Alder Lorman introduced it, but I don't have a second.
I seconded for the purpose of discussing it.
Excellent, thank you.
Would you be willing to?
Should we do a, yes, roll call?
You can call for a roll call vote if you'd like.
Because that might be easier for
So-
votes.
So then,
And I know that you wanted something to say more like reflective.
well,
but
yeah, I
do-
mean, what Alder Myers suggested was, because we'd be looking at 3 motions, if we do this one that I'm recommending, but then Alder Myers would have a second one that we would, and what I guess what he's asking me is, would I be willing to simply retract my?
Withdraw.
Withdraw my.
If it's
motion.
possible under Roberts, if you'd be willing to withdraw your vote.
What we learned from UW Extension is that we dispense with the motion that's on the table instead of withdrawing.
Dispense with it.
Yeah,
Okay,
and so
gotcha.
just point of information for the body, so just to give you a sense of,
That's fine.
so if the language in yellow is adopted, it would be added to the amendment that was offered by Alder Myers, and then you'd vote on that. If this second amendment were to be voted down, then we would remove that language in yellow and then go back to the amendment with the language in red underline. And that would be the next item the body would address.
I mean, yeah, as Alder Nairo stated, let's just follow that process. Yep, thank you.
Okay, roll call please for Alder Lorman's amendment.
Sure. Alder Shaver,
No.
Alder Kalish,
No.
Alder Nelson,
No.
Alder Myers,
No.
Alder Haniro,
No.
Alder Lorman,
Yay.
Alder Crow.
No.
Okay, that motion fails. 1 to,
I think I had 6-1.
yep. Okay,
Missing.
so that motion fails. So I will strike the yellow language from this image on the screen, and we'll go back to the original amendment from Alder Myers. Give me 1 second. And
Yes, Alder Haniro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let the members know, I won't need to make a substitute motion. If we vote on the wording in red and it fails, then we would vote on the amended FBO contract, or the contract as amended by the Finance and Personnel Committee, which would be the motion I would have made anyway. So, in other words, this next vote on the red language will determine whether we make it less complicated, like what Finance and Personnel did 2 weeks ago, or add the market analysis language.
I would like a roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Alder Myers.
I would just like to again point out that this is the version of the contract and the language that has the support of the fixed base operator. I would presume similarly for similar concerns, though without speaking specifically for him, I have seen his name flash up in the Zoom chat periodically. The specialized aviation service operator at the airport as well. And it strikes a balance between the very legitimate concerns that I think we all have. So I'd ask for your vote in favor of this amendment.
Okay, so conducting a roll call vote on this amendment. So just for clarity's sake, the amendment is the language that's shown in red underline on the screen. Alder Schaefer,
Yes.
Alder Kalish,
Yes.
Alder Nelson,
No.
Alder Myers,
Yes.
Alder Haniro,
No.
Alder Lorman,
Yes.
Alder Crow.
No.
I have 4-3 passing.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that takes us back to the original renewal of fixed-based operator contract, adding in that language.
Myers on behalf of the Airport Commission. Or wait, never mind, we've already moved. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have
Yes.
a motion.
As amended.
As amended, yes.
As
Sorry about
amended.
that.
Fantastic. Can I have just a 1-minute overview? Since we've discussed a lot of things going on with fuel, can you just can staff broadly just remind us what this is in front of us?
Sure. So again, this is a contract for fixed space operations per the recommendation from the Finance Committee. The term of this agreement is for 5 years to 2031. And then at the conclusion of that 5-year period, then upon mutual agreement between the operator and the city, they can decide whether or not to extend the agreement for an additional 10 years. In addition, the language on the fuel flowage fee has been addressed through the amendment. And I'm trying to see if there's any other items of note from the Finance Committee's discussion. But again, this outlines the scope of work and responsibilities for the FBO. Sorry, there was one item from the Finance Committee at their meeting 2 weeks ago under Section 15, under right of flight, adding in a reference to the city's voluntary noise abatement policy, which matches the same right of flight language that exists in the specialized aviation agreement, the SASO agreement as well. I believe those were the only changes from Finance Committee.
Okay, much appreciated. I know we talked a long time about fuel, so I just want to make sure we are all on the same page. Alder Myers.
Oh, I just wanted to thank Finance and Personnel for adding in that language about the voluntary noise abatement policy.
Mhm.
And I'd like to thank Rich Morey and Matt Hofelt both for their work to ensure that pilots who are flying to and from that airport follow the voluntary noise abatement policy when it is practical for them to do so, given conditions at takeoff.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any other comments? I just have a quick check-in. After those 5 years in 2031, is there I understand there could be an additional 10 years with mutual agreement, but is there a point where an RFP might be appropriate in that 2031 area?
Yes, that would be up to the decision of the council at that time. When we get towards the end of that 5-year cycle in 2031, the council has every free right and ability to decide whether or not they want to go to RFP for this, for the additional future term of this contract, or could decide to extend for additional 10 years with the current operator. The decision would be with the council at that time. Again, it's mutual decision upon the operator and the council, so both would have to be in agreement to extend it 10 years.
Thank you for that. Okay. All right, so calling the question, all those in favor of the renewal of fixed-based operator contract for the Middleton Municipal Airport with Maury Airplane Company, subject to city attorney approval and the additional language, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to resolutions, Resolution 2025-01, approving the minimum number of election officials at a polling place. Is there a motion?
This is Nelson. I'll move approval.
Schaefer, second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes?
I'd just like to thank all of our hardworking election officials in the city of Middleton for the very important work that you do. Our city has very high turnout in its elections, which is a great thing, but it does create more work for everyone who does that. So thank you for stepping up to serve our community.
Wonderful. We will need it all throughout 2026. Very, very enlightened, and I agree. Thank you so much to our staff. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2025-01, approving the minimum number of election officials at polling place, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Resolution 2026-02, adopting certain equipment rates for contracted services and ordinance violation assessments. Is there a motion?
Gorman will make that motion.
Great.
Myers, second.
Any comments? All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-02, adopting certain equipment rates, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2026-03, authorizing the reappropriation of 2025 year-end capital fund budgets into 2026 and related budget adjustments. Is there a motion?
Sure, on behalf of Finance and Personnel, I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
Schaefer will second.
Any comments? All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-03, authorizing the reappropriations of 2025 year-end capital fund budgets into 2026 and related budget adjustments, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to discussion, updates on committees, commissions, and boards. Any highlights? Alder Myers.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that the Ped Bike and Transit Committee and the Public Works Committee will be having a joint meeting on the 9th of this month, so on Monday. If you are not on the committee, on either committee, and interested in helping to build that working relationship, or just interested in watching, please come on by. And we try to make our meetings on Public Works as open to public comment as humanly possible. And I know that Tad Doherty, the chair of the Ped Bike and Transit Committee, does the same thing there. So that meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. on the 9th of February, Monday, the 9th of February. And I believe we're holding it in city council chambers, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. I don't think conference room B can quite fit all,
All
of us.
members, yes.
Posted yet, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's gonna be city council chambers.
Excellent. Well, just so you all know, we attended the Groundhog Day Festival in Sun Prairie. They've had 78 years of groundhog, and they did say Jimmy, the groundhog, said warm spring's coming soon. So I got to attend with my daughter and stood with the mayors, and Sun Prairie says hello. So anybody else have a committee? No, that's about it. Okay, well, we're moving into February fast, and you gotta love all the activities that'll be coming soon.
Oh, sorry, I did have one update for landmarks that I forgot to give.
Please tell us.
Yeah, for those who either were unable to attend or didn't see, 62 people turned out for the Unjust Deeds event that the Historical Society, working with members of the Landmarks Commission, put together to learn more about restrictive covenants and, in many cases, file a formal renunciation of those restrictive covenants. So thank you to everyone who attended and who worked to make that event possible for us to have in our city.
Yes, that was a great event.
I
Yeah,
remembered- I
please.
just remembered something.
Please send my regards to Landmarks for that. Alder Lorman?
Yeah, I just remembered something. Just keep your eyes open. There will be a Special Conservancy Lands Committee meeting, I think forthcoming in the next couple weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah, we don't know when, but just keep an eye on your city for that. I think it'll, for public comment.
Much appreciated. We always love hearing more about trees and conservancy and all the things. Any other topics? We'll move